Welcome to the meeting, ma'am. Good morning. Hello, and welcome to this webinar. That Thank you for joining in. We are just going to start in a couple of minutes. Hello and good morning. My name is Mrunmayee. I am a PYP homeroom teacher at Wockhardt Global School. Wockhardt Global School is an IB continuum school in Aurangabad, Maharashtra. That is, we offer the PYP, MYP, and the diploma programs from IB. And today I'm going to give out some 5 practical tips to promote learner agency. Learner agency is not a very new concept. It is something that has been in place for quite a while now. But in recently in enhanced PYP, that has been put at the very core of the IB principles. So first, we will just quickly see what is learner agency. So as you can see in the PYP, learner agency is described in a very small mantra, which is voice, choice, and ownership. This learner agency is put at a very core of IB. All the learners, learning and teaching principles, and the learning community, it revolves around the agency of students and learners who are at the very core of IB. So when we are talking about agency, we are saying that the learner should be at the center. The learner is the most important person in your classroom, and all your teaching principles, all your methodologies should revolve around the learner. The learners are in the driving seat for your class. So when we are talking about implementing student agency in the classroom, we are saying that the students should be doing things with their own hands, rather than just watching them being performed. They are not there as listeners, they are not there as audience, they are active participants in the classroom. They are not passively listening to the teacher being told that, okay, this is the concept and this is how we are going to learn things. They have the ownership of their own learning, and they will drive the lessons themselves. And the focus in an agentic classroom is on creating content, creating your knowledge rather than just replicating what is being taught to you. In olden days, like in previous traditional models, when we were children, we used to just interact with our classmates. We never interacted with the teachers, and whatever the teacher taught us, and whatever the concepts were told to us, we replicated them in a way, we replicated them in the exams, and we never had the ownership or the voice or the choice of choosing what we learn, how we learn, and how we can present our knowledge that we have acquired. So first of all, as we have just seen what learner agency is and why it has to be implemented, we will focus more on the reasons why learner agency is important in the classroom context. So when we were children, we never imagined the jobs that are present right now. So you never knew when you were a child in school that there will be a job as a video game developer. You never knew that there will be a job as a graphic designer. We never knew that you could be a YouTuber and earn your living through that. So whatever jobs our students are going to be doing in the future, whatever work they are be doing for their living, that most probably does not exist today. Apart from the traditional roles of being doctors, teachers, engineers, uh, the the novelty of jobs, the variety of careers that are facing our children for their future, they do not exist today. We cannot predict what they are be going where what they are going to be doing, and that is why the knowledge that we are going to give them now in school might become obsolete tomorrow. Every day we see that new knowledge is being created in the fields of science, medicine, even teaching, which is supposed to be such an age old profession. Every day something new is being explained. Every day some new technique is being evolved. Every day a new technique is being invented. So the knowledge we are trying to impart to our children right now might become completely obsolete tomorrow, might become completely redundant at some point. So just providing knowledge to a children in a classroom is not going to be enough. We cannot just teach some facts to the children. Okay, this is how these things work, and this is how it has always been. But we cannot promise that this is how it is always going to be. So providing knowledge in a classroom is not what we are looking for, is not what we are going to be attempting. We need to teach our children skills. So, what are these skills? When you have a goal, first of all, we need to teach children how to set a goal. When they are a goal in front of them, how do you plan to achieve that goal? How are you going to plan an inquiry to achieve that goal? And then whatever information you need to in that process, that has to be acquired from reliable sources, and that information has to be processed in such a way that your plan is being implemented, or you are planning an action towards your goal. So the first step towards this journey of owning your learning, owning your knowledge, and in the later part of them, creating your own knowledge, is agency, is learner agency. When your voice is heard in a classroom, when you know that what you are saying, your opinion matters, what you are going to learn and how you are going to learn, your opinion as a learner is the prime most important in that context. Then you start choosing the right options for you. So as you can see, voice will naturally lead to making the right choices in a classroom context. So you choose how you want to learn, you choose how you want to present your learning. And ultimately, because of these two concepts, you will take ownership of your own learning. You will feel responsible for your acquiring and processing your own knowledge. And in the meantime, what we are expecting is later on you will create your own knowledge, you will create your own concepts, you'll create your own knowledge database, which is ultimately going to help you in your life. So agency, as we see here, is the first step, especially in a primary classroom. It's the first step towards preparing our students for life, giving them skills to deal with the problems that are going to come to them at a later stage of their life. So how does learner agency look in the classroom? So when we are having 20, 25 children in the classroom, how do you cater to every single person's need? How do you hear every single voice? How do you make every child make the right choice? So let's see how it looks in the classroom setting. So learner agency in the classroom can be described as the will and ability to make a change. So first of all, the child has to understand that what I need to change, what the process that I'm going through right now, knowledge is being imparted to me and I'm trying to accept the knowledge. How can I make a change to this environment? Am I happy with how I'm interacting with other classmates? Am I happy with how I'm interacting with the teacher? What do I need to change in this environment so that it makes it easier for me as a learner? Why do I have to follow the classroom rules? We have been told since our childhood that, okay, these are the classroom rules and this is how you will behave and this is how you will interact, or you will not talk between the class, you will not talk over the teacher. Why these rules are in place? Why do we need to follow them? And how do we need to follow them? Do we need to follow them blindly, or do we understand why there is a reason behind each rule? And most importantly, in learner agent and in an agentic classroom, the learner has to have self-awareness. The learner needs to know what are the strengths and weaknesses that I have and how I can overcome those weaknesses, how I can play up my strengths so that my learning today in the classroom is the best that I can get. How do I form and share opinions? And how do I do that with confidence? Do I have opinions, or do I just listen to what teacher has been telling me and I accept that without any doubt? No, that's not how an agentic classroom works. You have to form your opinion and you have to share your opinion with confidence. And that will only come when you're able to justify your opinion. And we have to also see that the learners in the classroom have a right to make a choice. They are being given that freedom. where they can make their own learning choices, and they have the confidence and they have the understanding to support their own choices. And in PYP classrooms, especially, usually we always see people who are working in groups, and we put children in groups because that is something uh, a working professional needs. When you grow up, you need to work with different kinds of people, you need to work in different kinds of settings. So, working in groups is something that helps you prepare for the real world, because in real world you're not going to be able to choose the people you're going to work with. You need to work with different people with different strengths, different backgrounds, different weaknesses, different cultures. So you should be able to work in different roles. So it's not always possible for you to be the leader. It's not always possible for you to also take a back seat and let others lead. In some settings, you'll need to be the leader. In some settings, need to be the need to take a back seat and let other people lead, because that might be their strength at that point of time. So these all things are considered with learner in the center in an agentic classroom. There are also some misconceptions about agency. Sometimes we have people who think that giving agency to a learner is complete autonomy. If the learner will decide what he wants to learn, and if a child in age 10 or 11 from a PYB classroom comes to you and says that I don't want to learn a maths and I think it's completely useless to me, do you allow that? Is that going to be agency for you? Of course not. So agency is not absence of guidance. Agency is not something that you can replace a teacher with. You need to respect the voice, choice, and ownership of the children who are in your classroom, but at the same time, you need to enable them to make the right choices. When you say that you have to listen to the voice of every single child, you also need to teach them how to present their opinions in a way which is not hurtful to others. And whatever opinion or voice that you're sharing in the classroom has to have a justification at the back. You cannot simply start exerting choices where without any justification backing up to them. Agency is also not absence of structure. Although we encourage children in a PYP classroom to explore their surroundings to the best of their abilities, and to choose their own way where they want to showcase their knowledge, we also need to teach them structure where they have the ability to organize their thoughts, where they have the ability to organize their knowledge in such a way that is most neatly presented to the audience. Agency is also not absence of support. We are not going to leave the children on their own just because we want to say that it is an agentic classroom. We need to guide and scaffold the steps for every single child. And that is how we are going to be supporting the children in making the right choices. And agency is also not absence of a teacher. Agency is also when your teacher is not completely absent. The teacher is there, teacher is supporting you at every step, but at the same time the teacher is not leading the class. The teacher is not directing the direction the learning is taking. Is that onus is on the learners itself. And finally, we come to the 5 practical tips that we are going to give to teachers, especially for promoting agency in the classroom. These tips are also very important for parents because they are the teachers in the home setting. And it's always the responsibility of teachers and parents together to ensure that the learners are getting the best education that they have. So let's go to the first step, which is build. So what are we building here? For an agentic classroom for people for children who want to for promoting agency in children, we need to build a nurturing and inquiry friendly environment. So what do we say by nurturing? When we say nurturing environment, it means that the learner should feel confident enough and the learner should feel responsible enough to share his opinions with everyone. We cannot have children who are shying away from sharing their opinion, or we also cannot have children who are forcing their opinions on other people. So we need to present our voice, we need to raise our voice, but in such a way that is respectful to others and a voice that has always reason at behind it. How we can build this culture in a classroom is by acknowledging all questions by students. I say acknowledging all questions, I'm not saying answering all questions. When a child raises a question which is not entirely related to your curriculum that or your lesson that you are conducting right now, you just do not ignore that question altogether. You acknowledge the question, you can answer it at that point, or you can answer it later. You can tell the child, okay, we have a class going on and this is now right now this question seems a little off of the topic, but what we can do is we can explore on it together. We can come back to this question from a different angle, and you have to make sure that you follow up on that promise. You have to later on share some time with the child, tell him how to find answer to that question, or you have a discussion where you are interacting with each other and exploring the same question together. This is a way of supporting personal inquiries, which is again something very important to an agentic classroom. You can have children who have different interests in a classroom. So even though you have one unit of inquiry going on, even if you have the same line of inquiry going on, you can have children with diverse interests. One child might want to have a separate question. He want to may want to branch out from the line of inquiry and pursue some other question or some other problem, and you have to support these personal inquiries so that the child feel confident that okay, yes, if I have a question, I am going to find out the answer, and this is how I go about it. And I have my teacher who is supporting me at these steps all the time. And this is how we respect students' voice and choice, because their opinions also matter, their choices also matter. And if they choose to go in a different way than the rest of the class, you're not stopping them. You're not hampering their interests. You're not hampering their line of questioning. You follow through with them, support them at every step, and that ultimately will bring you to a nurturing and inquiry friendly environment where all your students are confident enough to say that yes, if I think differently, it is allowed. I'm not something on an assembly line where I am told what to think, I'm told what opinions to have, and I'm told what I am supposed to do in the class, and this is the only thing that I do. No, if I have a different opinion, if I have a different line of inquiry, I am allowed to explore, and I am being taught how to follow my own personal inquiries. And this is one of the most important thing you can do as a teacher, is give the proper direction and the proper guidance to a student's personal research projects or personal inquiries. The next step that we are going to talk about is collaborate. You can collaborate with your students. Not collaboration is not only for amongst the students. Collaboration is not only for amongst the teachers. You need to collaborate with your students in a class when you are trying to explore a certain inquiry. So it's not just for your students. Your teacher must collaborate with students to pursue an inquiry rather than give them instructions and then sit back and relax. No, you cannot have just a set of instructions to be given to the students and then you're not following up with what is being happening, or how the students have been following that particular thing. Also, we need to model as teachers the behavior that we seek in our students. So if you want your students to have voice, if you want your students to have choices in their learning, and if you want your students to take ownership of their own learning, that's the same thing that you yourself need to model as a teacher. So you need to project your voice in the classroom. You need to explain why you make certain choices in the classroom. And you also take ownership of your own progress along with the students. So we are going to teach strategies, not content. We are going to teach children how to go about learning, how to follow a personal line of inquiry. We are not just throwing facts at them and then they are regurgitating those facts, and then we are saying that, okay, this is over. This lesson is now over. This is not how we want to work for an agentic classroom. We are also teaching skills. We are not teaching facts. We are teaching skills of planning. We are teaching skills of pursuing a line of inquiry. We are teaching the skill of gathering information from reliable sources. We are teaching the skill of organizing that information in a way that is most logical for and presenting it in a such a way that is most logical for your plan of action. And for all this, we need to provide tools to the children. How we can teach them about the different visible thinking routines. So we can tell them, okay, if you want to present your knowledge in a way, these two, three options might be your best choice of presenting the knowledge. And then you give the onus of choice to the student, and he will decide how he wants to present that information and how he can best organize the information that will ultimately help him achieve his goal. And the most important thing is we teach how to reflect on our knowledge. We are not going to ask students to recall and just again tell the same thing, and we are going to assess those information. So I have given you some information, how much of that information you remember and recall, and I'm going to judge you based on that. That is not how we want to work in an agentic classroom. We want children to reflect on their learning. So what went well, what did not go so well? Did you achieve your goal? If not, then why do you think you haven't achieved your goal? And when students reflect in these terms, they can make better decisions the next time they are choosing their own path for learning. So when they are trying to achieve a particular goal, or when they are trying to inquire into a topic, these reflections are what going to help them, instead of just the assessments that we are planning for them. You can also co-create learning assets with your learners to promote agency. So when we say learning assets, it could be your lesson plans, it could be the worksheets that you do in class, it could be the assessments that you are planning for them. So what in an agentic classroom, you would involve the learner in the entire planning process for your lesson. So when you are planning a lesson, we can ask students to answer these following questions. We can ask them, what do we want to learn? How do we want to learn the thing? Why do we want to learn about this particular topic? And how can I contribute to my and my classmates' learning? How do we assess our progress? So when we answer all these questions, this is what a lesson planning looks like. This is what we are thinking of as teachers when we are planning a lesson. So involving students in every single step of planning will help you co-create these learning assets with your learners. So if I'm conducting an assessment and if my children are telling me that we want to create a model instead of just answering a worksheet, this immediately gives the responsibility of making the model, planning the process, and getting involved in that entire process on the students. Now it becomes their model. So it's the student thinks that, okay, this is my idea and my teacher has accepted my idea. So it is now my responsibility to make sure that I execute this idea in the best possible manner. And this is how the learner agency is implemented. This is how the learner agency gets in it's set in motion in the classroom. So what we are trying to achieve is a lesson plan where the learner is involved in every single step, and together you are creating together you are gathering the knowledge, together you are processing the knowledge, and together you are presenting the knowledge in the best possible manner. And now we come to the most important part of this entire process, which is feedback. When we are giving feedback to our students, it becomes very important that the feedback is first specific. The feedback is constructive, it is ongoing, it is personalized, and it is exemplary. So let me explain what I mean by all these terms. So when a student comes to you with certain kind of work, whenever you are giving feedback, it has to be very specific. So it should pertain only to that particular assignment. You should never say to a child that, okay, this is the mistake that you usually make, this is the mistake that you always make. These things are not what we want to tell to our learners. We want to give very specific feedback on how they can improve that particular work that they are presenting. The feedback should always be constructive. We are not trying to hamper the progress of the child in any way. So we are not going to demoralize the child. The feedback should always be constructive, that yes, this is how we can make the work better. This is how we can together work to make your project more successful. This is how you will achieve your goal with more accuracy, with more precision. And the feedback also has to be ongoing. It's not something that a summative assessment is there, like, which is the culmination of your entire unit, and you have only given one feedback and that is it. When is the child being given opportunity to improve? Why do we always have to take the exam first and then check the exam, give the marks, and give feedback, and that is done? When is the child going to show you that he has worked on the feedback and he has improved himself based on your feedback? So we need to give feedback which is ongoing. So we need to involve the process of giving feedback at every step when of our lesson. So every time when you have seen a student give out some work, or he has gathered some data, he's showing you his research, these feedback should be ongoing and continuous. And the feedback must also be personalized. The feedback should also be very specific and very personalized to each child. We cannot have a common comment which goes out to all children that you have done very well, you have exceeded in this, and this is not how feedback should go out. Every child will turn out different kinds of work, and you need to give feedback which is pertaining only to that person, and you need to make it personalized. You need to make it personal, so that the child feels that, okay, this is a conversation between me and my teacher, and not just something that I receive at the end of every assignment. It should be a conversation which is ongoing, and it should be a conversation very personal between the teacher and the student. And very at the very last, I will say that the feedback should also be exemplary. The feedback should be where you model the process for the child, and you tell him and provide him an exemplar. You provide him a feedback where you tell him exactly how he needs to improve, or exactly how he can work to make his work better. So all these processes that you are, all these tips that you can follow in your own classroom, you can build a nurturing environment to promote agency. You can collaborate with your students to make uh, to make the environment more friendly towards inquiry, and you can collaborate with your students and explore the topics together. You can also model what you want your children to achieve. So whatever behavior you are seeking in the learner, you need to model it for them. If you want your children to be good at research, you yourself need to show them how a good research work looks like. You can also co-create the learning assets in your classroom, and you can also involve your children, your students at every step in your lesson planning. And as we most importantly said, it's very important to give feedback which is specific, which is constructive, which is ongoing, which is personalized, and which is exemplary to the student, so that the student can employ that feedback at every step of their learning, and they are sure the next time they approach a research project or next time they approach a new topic, they know exactly how they are going to achieve their goal. They know exactly what steps to follow to achieve a certain goal in a group work, or it might also be their personal inquiry. So I thank all of you for joining the webinar and listening to me so patiently. And I hope that these 5 practical tips to promote learner agency are useful to you. Thank you so much.